Please welcome Associate Professor in Tourism at NYU, Dr. Lin Menard, Head of Research at Skift, Heisha Wang, and founder of Family Travel Association, Rainer Jens.
Hello, everybody. Let's start this session off with a fun fact. So the Family Travel Association, which I founded in 2014, actually officially launched on the same day that Skift launched its first day of its first global forum. So fun fact for the FTA, fun fact for Skift. I remember that conference well. I was so impressed. So I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to speak about my favorite subject, family travel. So when I launched the Family Travel Association in 2014, almost 7 years ago, our main priority then, and it remains so today, is to help our industry better understand the complexities that are involved in family travel. And that starts with the families themselves, the parents mainly. What are their unique challenges? How do we help them better understand the complexities of, or the choices that they have? How do we serve them better? How do we meet their expectations? All these things were not really being done in 2014, which is amazing. This is one of the largest segments in the entire industry. So what do we do? Well, I had the good fortune of meeting Dr. Lin Menard, who you'll see on stage in a moment. Met her at an event, and I found out that she was doing research in Europe, basically doing the same thing, helping Europeans better understand the family travel market. I said, hey, Lin, we're just launching here in the US. Could you help us do the same? And she said, I'd love to. So with that, formed a great partnership between the FTA, Family Travel Association, and NYU. And ever since, we have formulated a nationwide research study that doesn't take into account income or socioeconomic class or geography or their social standing and race and color, etc. This is about all families in the United States that we're going to get a temperature of to help, again, our industry better understand what we're doing well and where we need to improve. So with that, we gathered some really incredible data points, and we've been doing this, like I said, every year since 2014. Unfortunately, in 2019, we had to take a pause because of all the craziness in the market. But today, we are releasing our 2021 study, of which you'll all get a free copy of. You'll see at the end of the presentation, there's a URL with a special user code. And please, for attending the Skift conference, you have a complimentary copy of the research. But what you'll hear today are kind of the top line numbers, and again, some of the unique data points that are out there. So with that, I want to introduce to you the real stars behind the numbers, and that is Dr. Lin Menard, who I mentioned, whose expertise is really all about gathering data for the FTA and for other companies, and also Heisha, who you met earlier, who has also done research study and has looked at the family travel market in its entirety when it comes to the travel market. So please help me welcome Dr. Lin Menard and Heisha to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rainer, and hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure for me, on behalf of NYU, to present you with a brief summary of the findings of our 2021 Family Travel Survey. And let me start with some good news to begin. Family travel demand is back up to pre-COVID levels, and not only is it up to pre-COVID levels, it's up to high pre-COVID levels. So as you see on this slide, we had a bit of a dip in family travel demand between 2017 and 2019, with then, of course, a big slide in 2020, but we're now back up to 88% of families planning a trip in the next 12 months. So having a look at which aspects of family travel have changed because of the pandemic and which ones haven't, we see that some characteristics remain unchanged. The first one is that domestic travel is by far the largest segment in family travel. International, even before all the border closures, was much smaller. And we also see that the trip types that families engage in stay the same. The top 4 are visiting friends and relatives, beach vacations, state and national parks, and theme and water parks. No change there. Families prefer hotels as their accommodation, and their main concern when it comes to family travel is affordability. So not so much the COVID concerns, they're there, but they're in a distant second and third place compared to the cost of travel. But some aspects of family travel have also changed considerably post-pandemic. Here are 3 examples of trip types that have seen a significant decline in interest. Museums and cultural attractions are down, as you see, probably because most of those are indoors. Events, whether it's culture, sports, festivals, are down. And cruises, down significantly. This was a major growth category for family travel in the last couple of years, and unfortunately has now gone down to 10% of families expressing an interest. We have some other changes post-pandemic. It's been brought up a number of times today, but vacation rentals are on a massive increase in interest. That already existed before the pandemic, I gotta say, but it's accelerated, and it's come to some extent at the expense of motels. In 2017, motels were the 3rd most popular accommodation choice for families, dipped down to 6th place in 2019, and they're now in 11th place. So a big slide. Cancellation policies are very, very important. 56% of families say they pay more attention to those now. And a whopping 80% of families say that they will not book any travel unless if there's flexible cancellation and refund policies. And then finally, travel advisors have received a bit of a boost because of the pandemic. While only 17% of families have booked with travel advisors in the past 2 years, 65% say that they are interested in booking travel with an advisor in the coming 2 years. And 35% of that proportion say that it's because of the pandemic and the chaos it has caused. We also looked into how vaccinated and unvaccinated families differ in travel attitudes. And there's some interesting differences. Unvaccinated families have strong opposition to vaccine passports and are not usually deterred by low vaccination rates in destinations. On the contrary, actually, they will seek out a lot of the time destinations with looser health restrictions. And also, interestingly, they're much more likely to want to visit theme and water parks. 70% of the unvaccinated families are planning to visit a theme or water park versus 50% of vaccinated families. The vaccinated families, on the other hand, are much more likely to report lasting concerns about international and cruise travel. So while they are vaccinated, they still have more of a fear barrier compared to the unvaccinated families. Then finally, we asked our families to evaluate the travel sector in how well it's serving them, to give it a grade, basically. For the period of the shutdown, families gave a grade of a C+. Not great, but passing, all things considered. However, for today, they give the families at the travel sector a grade of B-, so better, providing safe environments. That, however, hides some really big differences in how different subsectors are evaluated. So top scores are going to travel advisors and vacation rentals. Then in second place, online booking platforms, restaurants, hotels, and tour operators. Third place are the car rental companies and the airlines. And in final place, the cruise companies. So to sum up my very brief summary, what do families want in 2021? First thing that they want is cleanliness and visible, frequent cleaning. So despite all the accusations of hygiene theater and the fact that COVID doesn't necessarily spread through surfaces, they still want to see people clean. Honest and clear communications is a second one, and that takes 2 forms. So you have the families who want to be reassured that there's going to be travel restrictions in place and that they will be reinforced. And then you have other families who want to know that the amenities that they're coming for will actually be open and that there won't be too many restrictions. And there's really no middle ground in the scores that they're given. So the big takeaway for the sector is you can't please both sides. The cautious and the brazen, you'll have to choose a side to get satisfaction. And then finally, flexibility, as I said, is important. Flexible cancellation and refund policies will remain a must. And with that, I'll hand it over to Heisha, who will talk about the family travel market in comparison to the wider sector.
All right, thank you so much, Lin, for being here. As Lin mentioned, so I will quickly go over a few slides just to provide more context to family travel, to these trends. I'll focus on two areas. One is how big is the family travel market? And two, do all those trends apply to family travelers only, or are they commonly shared for all leisure travelers? So Lin has talked about how the pandemic has shifted family travelers' preferences for accommodation, for destination, and also she talked about how vaccination affects people's future travel decisions. So I'm going to share data from our U.S. travel tracker on where families stayed in 2021 and where they traveled to in 2021. And and also will compare how they differ from non-family travelers. And also I will share data on vaccine rates for family travelers and non-travelers. Another thing is one very important change of the pandemic. We know that, we talk about it all the time already, is remote work, the rise of remote work and its impact on travel. So the question is, do family travelers differ from others in remote work situation? And does remote work status affect their travel behavior? So I'm going to share some findings from our survey on remote work and travel in 2021 as well. Now let's get to the data. So market size. Households with children accounts for 21% of the entire U.S. households, but 26% of total travel spending. And from March to December 2020, 29% of all personal trips in the U.S. Included children. And the number for the first 7 months in 2021 is 35%. So all personal trips in 2021 so far included children. So it's a huge and lucrative market. Accommodation. So here we've seen similar trades as Lin discussed in our survey. Since the pandemic started, vacation rentals, resorts, and campgrounds all rose in usage. However, the growth comes from all traveler segments, so including family travel. So family travelers only stand out in heavier usage of resorts. Destination. Here, the divides between traveling with the kids and traveling without the kids are much more pronounced. So from data you can see family travelers traveled a lot more to national parks and amusement parks, and a lot less to urban centers than non-family travelers. Vaccination. It's likely because family travelers tend to be younger, so they are actually slightly less likely than non-family travelers to be vaccinated, and their future travel plans are less swayed by their vaccine status. However, there is a caveat, and because the data here includes the March and the May survey, and also with the rise of the Delta variant and its greater impact on children, this attitude might change in the upcoming months. And lastly, remote work. Here we have seen some fascinating data. So this is based on from January to July. Out of just like all the family travelers, 37% of all those who traveled with the children worked remotely. So it's 2 percentage points higher than those who traveled without children. But while they did travel a lot more, as a result of the flexibility of remote work, fewer of them did so compared to non-family travelers, especially for longer trips. So this is an indication of the added challenges, right, of traveling with the children while working. And we talk about this a lot, remote work. Children, big issue there, right? So all those with the children are raising that. So what do we plan for children? What do you do? So it's that. So all in all, we know there will be a lot of changes, coming out of the pandemic, but there will be unchanged habits, and also there are uncertainties. And on top of that, family travel is not a monolithic segment. We know that, right? There are intricate needs and preferences. So to provide quality services to them, we need to constantly listen to them, relate to their needs and respond to their needs, and of course communicate to them with clarity and transparency. So this ends our presentation. Sorry, yeah, this you have seen this a lot already. So if you're interested in learning more about Skift research, come speak with us or speak with our sales director. And we have, I did it too fast. We have a 25% off for subscription. And I'll pass on to Lin to just talk about this report that they have mentioned. Everyone gets a free report.
Thank you, Heisha. So if you're interested in reading the full report, please visit this URL, familytravel.org/research. There will be a picture of the report, and you click the Buy Now button. If you then enter SGF21, so Skift Global Forum 21, at checkout, you will receive an email to download your report. I hope you'll enjoy reading it. And on behalf of all of us, I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you.